It's that fine time of year where it's time to start some CFL football. Welcome, everybody, to the Canadian Football Countdown. My name's Adam Stewart alongside Ryan Coop and the King of the North, Trey Colbeck, here this evening. Welcome back. It's season preview time, and not even season preview time. This is the weekly preview for week one of the Canadian Football League. Real excited to get everything going. And welcome to 288 of the Canadian Football Countdown. Proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And the Alternative Football Network as well. We got all sorts of things going on, but big thing, of course, week one preview. We're going to talk fantasy. We're going to talk teams. We're going to talk some storylines. And, of course, we're going to go and do some betting as well. We'll try to get you out here in a good time, though, as I introduce our panel here this evening. First things first, over to my left, I have Ryan Coop, who usually does this stuff. Why are you always going so quiet all of a sudden on us, Ryan?
Hey, happy to be here this evening. Happy to be in the shotgun seat. I guess Trey and I are sharing it, fighting over who gets shotgun, who's going to sit in the back seat tonight. I don't know. But yeah, happy to be here and, happy to give... I've hosted like 270 something episodes of this podcast, and I figured we've got some great folks here. It's time for them to start as well as we kick off a new season here, of course, on the podcast. Gonna be a bit of a different season for me. I got a lot of life stuff happening this summer, so you might see me in and out of the podcast and disappearing for lengths of time throughout the summer here. So you got, we're putting you in the hands of Adam and Trey here, and I think you're well covered with the two of them for a lot of the weeks this year, but happy to pop in and out as I can throughout the summer, and that includes this week for our week one preview.
It's scary because we made Ryan sign a lease for the car now, and Ryan is, definitely signed it, but I don't know if he knows what he's in for yet, especially with the guy to my right. He goes and made a little bit of a fool of me in fantasy draft this year.
Oh, my God.
But you know what? Maybe after a while, I'll forget about it. It's Trey Colbeck. Trey, what you up to?
I guess I got to send the screenshots to Adam Schefter here to break the news that there was nothing confirmed, when I say, we'll talk about it. But no, I'm doing okay. Have to go King of the North because if you watch Game of Thrones, you knew that Jon Snow was always coming for the king, right? So I'm coming for you, Adam. And I think I had the best team on paper after that draft on Monday, which, if you didn't watch, go check it out on our YouTube channel or Discord. We had some fun, 2 hours of fun. Maybe watch it at 1.5 speed if you want to get through it a little quicker. But yeah, it was good times. I think everyone had a good time except for Mike might not be happy with his team, but I don't think he's ever been. He wins and he's not happy with his team, right? So, doing pretty good. And Adam, bring it up with the commissioner, man. You know what I mean? Bring it up with the commissioner.
No, please don't. I don't want more drama this year.
Honestly, if it's between me and Adam fighting, I think that'd actually be kind of entertaining. But
pretty much it just ends up like a little cat fight. We just sit there and slap each other for a while, and then we go home and deal with it. It's just like how you deal with your brothers when you have to. You just go grab them and slap them around, and then you guys go in the back and figure it out. So, yeah. If you didn't watch it, of course, like Trey just alluded to, make sure you go check out episode 287 of the podcast. That one there is our fantasy draft special. Ryan spends a lot of time figuring out rules and figuring out plans and how to make that one run as smoothly as humanly possible. And then I end up winning it. So it's a great episode. We always have a lot of fun with it. My neck is still itching from that silly cape that I had to wear the whole night, but it was well worth it. So, yeah, check out our teams. Make sure you go and check on our Discord channel and let us know who you think is probably going to win the fantasy league this year. I think it's going to be the guy with the crown on his head right now, but hey, who knows? While we have a chance here, I do want to do a little bit of a read for our sponsor, Game Time TV. Learn more about Game Time TV by visiting GameTimeTV.ca or by following on Facebook at facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. And as always, I do want to acknowledge that the Canadian Football Downtown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Assiniboine, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples and homeland of the Métis Nation, and as well from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis nations. And of course, if you can't get enough of us, not sure about that, but nevertheless, you can head to our Discord channel. We've got all sorts of great additional content there, talking over and above whatever our weekly content talks about. You're going to probably see a little bit more from Ryan there about fantasy picks and that sort of thing as well this year. Trey's going to have a little bit more about betting. We're going to have our results from our CFL podcast fantasy league, which I'll talk a little bit about maybe a little later on, and all the other fun things that you can do with the Discord channel. Obviously, the depth charts, those are always posted, not only by us, by our fans. Thank you to FM Fan, who's already following us tonight. And, we just really enjoy having our fans over at Discord. Be sure to join the community Discord, and we'll see you out there. I guess we just may as well get into this. There was a little bit of news that came down from the CFL, mainly cut downs that happened earlier this week. And boy, there were some big ones. We talked a little bit about it during our fantasy draft special, but the two major ones, Kadeem Carey and Walter Fletcher, both are looking for on the outside looking in the CFL right now. Surprise, guys, or was this kind of to be expected maybe from one or the other? Ryan, you can go ahead first.
Yeah, definitely a surprise on Walter Fletcher. I mean, the season he had last year, like 700 yards on the ground, 700 through the air. And given the names behind him on the depth chart in Montreal, you kind of expected, this was Fletcher's backfield again. And it's a bit of an asterisk there because he rushed the ball like 6 times a game, and he was really more as a receiver than he was as a running back for a lot of the season last year. But, I would say he's one of the most explosive playmakers from a backfield in the CFL. So seeing Montreal cut him was really a surprise, but that just means that they are high on the guys they've got. And I believe it's Sean Thomas Arlington is going to be the starter for week 1. We'll get into that with the Montreal game, but the kind of backup Stevie Scott III is not dressed for Friday. I think it's Friday's game, I believe, or this weekend's game. So, Sean Thomas Arlington gets a chance to start there, which is good to see. Kadeem Carey, I'm not too surprised by because I thought there was a chance maybe Toronto wouldn't bring him back after they brought in Kevin Brown in free agency. But then what was wild to me was not only did they cut Kadeem Carey, they also cut Kevin Brown. And now it's Deontay McMahon who's taking over the starting role there in Toronto, and Mayan Williams, who, played well enough in camp to get that backup role there. So, yeah, some high-profile names. I'll throw Alexander Hollins getting cut by the Elks into the mix as well. I feel like these are some of the biggest cuts we've seen in years in CFL training camp. Trey?
Trey, you there?
Oh, sorry, a little bit of a glitch in there. I was kind of shocked about both, honestly, because Fletcher for sure, I thought he was going to be the guy, and Kadeem Carey, like Ryan said, I wasn't shocked because we were talking a lot about if he was going to come back. But then when they signed him, I'm like, well, what's the point of signing him and then cutting him unless all of his contract was just mostly play based and there was no, then maybe there's a difference, or maybe it was kind of like, oh, we'll sign you and here's a little signing bonus for what you did last year and on your way. So yeah, very, very interesting from both. I think both guys, well, definitely in Toronto, Kadeem Carey got beat out. I was just confused why bring him back in the first place.
Well, didn't Walter Fletcher sign a 3-year deal with Montreal earlier this offseason? I feel like it might have been a 3-year one.
Yeah. I know that he has a signing bonus in there, and he got paid in already. I think it was like $25,000 or something like that, which in most leagues, that would be a joke. In the CFL, that's a huge amount for a guy that's cut. So, yeah, it was very kind of amazing. I thought that Walter Fletcher was cut. Kadeem Carey, to be honest with you, I could see that one coming. Deontay McMahon looked very good for the last year and a half, 2 years, whenever he had the opportunity to carry the football. So I'm not surprised on that one as much, I guess I should say. I know they did bring Kevin Brown, but again, you could just see that was maybe for depth, just to see in case something happened with Deontay McMahon, that all of a sudden they said, no, you know what, this isn't going to work. But hey, like it that they're going with the younger guy. We've said it before, and I know Mike always keeps on saying it during our podcast, that running backs are a dime a dozen. There's lots of them. I don't know. I think that it was a good cut for both. I think if you're going to make a change, do it early, get it done, and see what you can build with. I don't mind even in Montreal that right now they're going with a national running back. So that's kind of cool as well. It helps with your depth. It helps with your ratio. So why not? We'll see what happens here. We'll see both of these teams playing later on this week. We'll talk about them more in our preview show. Other news that I had for you, Toronto, I guess, injury front-wise, I did want to bring up that Chad Kelly is not ready to go for game 1 of the season. I believe it will be Nick Arbuckle starting. Any thoughts if is this going to be a long-term thing or short-term thing? And if it is, what do Toronto fans have to get a little bit more nervous about it? Trey, you want to go first?
This is exactly why we didn't punch that trade talk, man. I didn't think Chad Kelly would be ready to go, and you never know. And then I don't think it's a big deal because they got some backups in place that, took care of business. Sure, Arbuckle, if you look at it overall, might not be the guy, but, he is 1-0 in his last start, right, which is always a good sign to have. So as long as it's less than, I don't know, for 6 weeks, I think we're good. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about Chad Kelly's injury here. I thought he was going to be ready to go. I mean, I actually said in the Discord the other day when they cut Cameron Dukes that I thought that meant initially, there's only 3 QBs on the roster, so Chad Kelly is good to go because you need to have 3 quarterbacks on the roster at all times. I forgot they brought in Jarrett Daggy in late in the preseason, late in training camp, and he's kind of that 4th QB, but yeah, I wouldn't anticipate it's the longest delay of time here for Chad Kelly, but looks like he's not quite ready to go for week 1, and we kind of anticipated that when he got injured late in the season.
Yeah, it's disappointing because, some person might have picked Chad Kelly with their first-round pick. But other than that, you know what? I think when he's ready to go, he'll be 100% and ready to rumble. So if he needs an extra week or two, so be it. You know what? I know that every game matters, but as much as we always say it, it really matters in September when it's really healthy and when you really got to be going. So any other news that anybody else has that they want to bring up? Or do we want to get into preview?
I'm ready to get into previews.
Well, sounds like a plan then. Our first game of the week is on Thursday Night Football. It will be the Ottawa Red Blacks traveling out to Regina, to Saskatchewan to take on the Rough Riders. Riders a negative 3.0. Storylines, I think the biggest thing that we can talk about in this one, it's almost going to be the injury bowl to start off the season for both of these teams, especially in the offensive line. If you look over on Saskatchewan side of the ball, Philippe Gagnon, he's out for the season. They won't say he's out for the season, but he's probably out for the season. Definitely on the 6-game injured list, as well as Mike McEwen, I believe it is. He's also on the 6-game injured list. Other players, I know that they've been saying that I think it was Brammer, I believe it is now.
It's Sean McEwen. Mike McEwen's the curler, Adam.
There's the first Adamism of the season.
He'll be on the 6th game as well.
Somebody please,
not us. Offensive line for the Rough Riders. I'll pay to see it.
Somebody in the chat keep the Adamism count going all season long of how many names does Adam mix up. We want a running tally every episode.
Yeah, this could be a while. Anyways, McEwen is out for whichever one you want to call, is out for 6 weeks. Also, I believe that Saskatchewan also has a few other injuries they're dealing with. Is it Brammer, I believe, as well, is hurt. He's on the 1-game injured list with a sore back. But they do have Tavon Campbell ready to go. They do have some big pieces in their defense that's ready to go.
Is Brammer out? Because they have him on the depth chart starting.
Off the to take a look. Maybe I
thought you
messed up
said you
here.
had this memorized, Adam. Oh boy.
I do.
He's not on the depth chart I'm looking at on the offensive line for the Riders.
One game injured list. Jacob
I hit the
Brammer.
wrong one. Maybe I hit the wrong one. No, maybe I hit the wrong one. That's on me.
Treeism.
You know what I did? I hit the preseason one. Can't do that.
Yeah, no, one game injured list. Jack Cohn, that's hiding a player. Can't say that. Sean Bain Jr. is going to be out for a little while longer. Jackson Ford, seen with a cast on his arm. Cozy Onyeka, Albert Awachi, Braden Knoll, Jacob Brammer, and Tommy Neal. They're all on the 1 game injured list. 6 game injured list. Charbel DeBeer is the only one that I didn't talk about. Defensive lineman. He is on the 6 game as well. Thoughts? Does the Riders have much of a chance with all these offensive line and defensive players and everybody all being injured, or is this just kind of, part of the reason why you have depth in a league?
Yeah, that's the biggest concern, as it always is, right, is the offensive line for the Riders, and can they hold up? Now that we're here at the first depth chart day of the season, I don't think it clicked for me necessarily over the last couple of weeks as we were doing season preview things, just how strong this Riders roster is, especially on the defensive side of the ball. In that defensive backfield and that defensive line, they're super strong. And then you've got guys like Jameer Thurman in the middle in the linebacking core. It's a very strong defense. My one major concern is that O-line, and I think Ottawa is a team that has a pretty strong defensive line as well. You've got Lorenzo Malden the fourth, you've got Cleon Lang, you've got Wakefield. Those guys can get after the quarterback pretty easily, and so I think that's going to be the biggest, difference maker potentially in this game is, can that Riders O-line put it together despite the injuries? Because if not, that could be a long night for Trevor Harris, who's typically not the most mobile quarterback in the CFL either. Trey?
Yeah, I just want to take my depth charts. It was starting to make no sense why there was 8 backup offensive linemen. Those depth charts I was looking at. Now we're at it. Yeah, who are we talking about?
Riders offensive line. Anything you want to talk about with this game, really?
Both offensive lines really need to, show up, I think, especially if you want to look at Ottawa's. They still have a pretty inexperienced quarterback, all considering, got to give him time. And both sides, this game could be a run-heavy game if they play it right. You got Stanback and Adetoboya on one side, and then the other side you got Ouellette with the fullback on the other side. So this could be some big truck in football, right? And offensive line wins and breaks that. So if I was either offensive coordinator, I go run the ball first 3 or 4 plays, especially if you pick up the first, right? Just to set the tone, and then it gives you some time for play action, and that might help too. And there's a little bit of an inexperience on O-line because of injuries. And if you want to look at Hardrick loves to run the ball. If you watch him for the last, I don't know, seems like 50 years play in this league, he definitely likes to run the ball. And I honestly, you want to probably could take either running back in fantasy potentially on this game, and I think it would be a good game that way.
Just as you're mentioning the running backs, I just want to chime in quickly because this is our first depth charts of the season that I feel like for anybody who doesn't understand the rules of the confusing depth chart rules of the nationalized designated American, you're not alone. I think everybody, CFL included, also doesn't understand that. But it makes for confusing depth charts if you aren't aware of that. So if you look at the Red Blacks depth chart for Thursday night's game, it seems as if Daniel Adetoboya is getting the start over William Stanback at running back. And that is technically true for the first play of the game only, because William Stanback is the designated nationalized American on the offensive side of the ball for the Ottawa Red Blacks, which means he can technically count as a Canadian because he's long enough veteran in the CFL. He can count as a Canadian for up to a certain number of snaps in the game, and then he counts as an American for the rest of his snaps. So that means that when he's on the field, they can play an extra American at receiver, for example, because he's counting as a Canadian running back for a certain handful of those snaps. The one caveat with that is that he cannot play the first play of the game. So technically he's listed as the backup on the depth chart so that he can register as that nationalized American. But after the first play of the game, Adeboboye comes out, William Stanback is coming in for the bulk of the carries. So it's really confusing. It's not marked very clearly on depth charts. So especially for people playing fantasy, betting, stuff like that throughout the season, you really got to pay attention closely to that and just like think about what makes sense. I think we saw some lineups last year where like Tim White was listed as a backup at wide receiver to a guy who barely played all season. It was like, no, that's not what's happening here. It's just confusing. CFL.
Here's a quick question then, because I've just noticed Deadman also has the DA beside his name. Is that Ottawa's tipping their hand, showing that they might be mixing up their running backs?
So there's a difference between the designated American and the designated nationalized American. I think that the DA on the depth chart means that the brackets around the name means they're the designated nationalized one. So
and what designated American mean then?
What's the difference? I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest. Maybe they count for something else, but I think basically what will likely happen with this Ottawa offense for good portions of the game is whatever snaps they can qualify Stanback as a Canadian for, Devontae Deadman can then go and slide in at wide receiver instead of Canadian Keelan White, and they can play 5 receivers because they have their Canadian technically in Stanback there. So maybe that means we see more from Deadman back in the receiver role he used to be in. Very confusing. Obviously, each team uses it in a different way. And the CFL did themselves no favors by trying to put this logistical nightmare in place. Sorry, back to you, Adam.
Why will this thing not? There it is.
Or you just muted yourself. You had it, and then you muted yourself.
I'm sorry, I'm having technical troubles. No, it's acting up. It is. Sorry about that. Anyway, CFL, do better. It's annoying seeing this designated Canadian and then designated American or designated national Canadian. And honestly, Canadian, not Canadian. Simple as that. Doesn't have to be so confusing. Anyways, I guess the only other thing I really wanted to talk about in this game here, besides, the Riders' defense is really strong. Ottawa, a little bit of injury things. I guess because Winnipeg fans all love talking about how the Rough Riders can't sell out a playoff game. Well, guess what? They sure aren't selling out a home opener this week. 20,480 is the last check. When I last checked for Saskatchewan for tickets sold, out of 28,820 that were available. The stadium holds 33,000 exactly. Is this a bit of a concern? Because you know what? Home opener, Saskatchewan of all places. Is this a part of a victim of Thursday night football? Trey, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I thought Saskatchewan struggled at Thursday night football over the last couple of years. 20,000 is a fair bit dip. Man, I also just wonder if it's just the economics, man. You know, you got 2 guys on this panel that had to give up season tickets for a variety of reasons, and one was economic, right? You know, can't. And I hate Thursdays, to be honest. I know I get it from a TV standpoint, but going to the game was the worst on Thursdays. I think it's a little bit of everything. Just economics. Maybe the team hasn't been the greatest. You know what I mean? Bomber preseason game was pretty full. You know, here like 2 weeks ago. But it looked pretty empty in preseason Regina. I know it was delayed, and I know there's some things, but there's just be a lot of things going on, isn't it? It's busy farming time in Saskatchewan, Adam, too, right? Things like that play factors into it. You can't, Thursday's a tough, I don't know. You answer this. Is it easier to come to a Thursday night game, or would it be easier to come a weekend game in your situation?
For 99% of Saskatchewan, it's easier on a weekend game.
Oh,
I mean,
weekend. That's what I mean.
Guys are traveling from Saskatoon to people are driving from Saskatoon to Regina. It's a 2-hour drive. You start the game at 7:00. You go till 10:30, 10 o'clock roughly. Then you got a 2-hour drive home. So midnight. And by the way, my kid's going to be up at 6:30 in the morning to go to the school the next day, right? it's tough for Saskatchewan, especially a team like Saskatchewan that has a lot of fans that travel. I don't like it. Myself, I mean, worked great because I work Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm off on Friday. For me, great. I'd gladly go to this game if it wasn't for farming season. And yes, it is a busy season right now. It's spraying season. Some guys are trying to finish up seeding. Some people are moving cattle. All sorts of stuff's happening over in the rural side of things. So I can see why why it is what it is. I bet you there'll be a few more walk-up sales. Some guys just saying, hey, it's a beautiful night in Regina. They'll just show up. I don't expect anything around. I'm expecting about 25 and a half, maybe. And that's season ticket holders and everything. So don't expect the stadium to be having 25,500 in there, because I guarantee there's probably a lot of season ticket holders that won't be going if it don't matter what. So, Ryan, any thoughts on this?
No, I agree with exactly what you said. I feel like Thursdays don't do a ton of service for Saskatchewan fans. I think it works in other cities better. Like Winnipeg, I think the Thursday night games often work because during the summer, because weekend is cabin time for a lot of people. But it doesn't work when you're more spread out across Saskatchewan, like your province is. So I think you guys hit the nail on the head there.
Okay. I've got actually a real good comment here from FM Fan. Be thankful you can watch all games on TSN now instead of being let down by the CFL Plus this week. Yeah, pretty much.
It's the CFL. They will find a different way to let us down this week. Give me a percentage chance, guys, that you think the CFL live game tracker will crash at some point this weekend.
100%. We always say bet the ant farm, but that one maybe bet the real farm on that one's pretty. That one I was just thinking, like, stats have been a nightmare. I know this preseason, but stats have already been a nightmare, and I just can't imagine it being any better.
Yeah, shout out to, I believe, Anderson for the Rough Riders. Only guy that I know of that got negative 95 yards rushing and got to keep his job.
I did see that. The fumble they allowed, they counted that as negative rushing yards and actually had it on the stat tracker that the Riders were at negative 90 rushing yards. Can only go up from there.
Yeah, I would hope so. But let's get into the fantasy side of things. Is there a player that everybody's kind of watching here over in the Ottawa and Saskatchewan game? Ryan, you're our old fantasy guy and our new fantasy guy and our always fantasy guy.
Oh. You
go first. Anybody you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, just as a quick note on fantasy in general, it's really hard for week number one. The prices are insane, which we'll talk about as we go through things, to the point where it's like we could talk about value plays, but you don't need a value play. Like, I had no problem filling out a lineup full of stacked players near the top, and that's where I feel like you get the most value out of what we talk about during these fantasy segments is those diamonds in the rough a lot of times. So it's hard. It's week one. We don't have any stats from this year. Lots of guys have changed places. So it's a little more based off of vibes. I don't have, I don't have the secret sauce, so to say, for this week. Players on the Ottawa side that are intriguing. I mean, Khalil Pimpleton at $8,000 seems like a massive deal at wide receiver. I like Justin Hardy. He seems like kind of the safe play on the Ottawa receiving core. He's kind of who I have in my lineup right now from this game. I think he's the only one I have so far. And that's just because last year he was good for a 100-yard game almost every second week there. And probably not going too heavy on this game, though, because I want to see how these offenses do against each other. Trey?
Yeah, no, I agree with Pimpleton. He's been one that's been in and out of my lineup today while I'm changing. And I was heavy on this guy last year, and I'm still going to ride him. I got to go with AJ Ouellette. He started to heat up near the end of the season, and I think that, I think he's got to be it, because I'm looking at the running backs right now. A couple of these other teams, Calgary, like we'll talk about it later, but other games is really uncertain at the running back position. Like, there's 5 guys on Calgary. Some teams don't run it that often. Ottawa kind of scared me right now when we're looking at this designated thing. Do they play Adetoboya more? Do they play Dedmon more? Like a lot of different situations, and there's no Oliveira, right? So I think Ouellette's kind of my my workhorse this week. Adam?
I'm looking at two guys, three actually. Over on the Ottawa side, I think Khalil Pimpleton is a very good pickup. He always seems to be available and open, but again, you got to remember there's two other receivers on that team. Eugene Lewis is another one that nobody mentioned yet, and I mean that's a lot of receiver power, and that means a lot of footballs are going to get thrown everywhere. So I like to say Khalil Pimpleton, but maybe I've talked myself out of it while just doing this whole thing.
One quick note. One quick note on Pimpleton as we're talking about it that I remembered that last year I put out all these fantasy charts every week in the Discord. Can't promise they're coming weekly this year. I'm going to try to stay on top of them a little bit. They might be a little more in between, so I don't have that stat line to back it up. But looking back at last year's numbers, I noticed a trend where it's like heavily when you look at a depth chart, it's the two receivers to the left side of the quarterback have higher averages in general than the ones to the right. It seems quarterbacks favor the receivers out to the left, where Pimpleton was last year. Because Eugene Lewis has come in and taken his spot there, Pimpleton actually moves to the right slot back instead of left wideout spot this season. So I'm a little hesitant on Pimpleton for that reason of I wonder what the new spot in the receiving core does for him and if he's going to be as favored with the guys with Eugene Lewis and Justin Hardy out left.
Okay. The other guy that I'm looking at for the Rough Riders, Keyshawn Johnson. Last year he had a very good season, kind of had a breakout. I think he's going to be a very good player again this season. We'll see how good he can make. The one thing I really am starting to get a little bit more, and again, in our fantasy leagues and podcast fantasy leagues, and in this case, I'm hoping that my internet's still working here. Okay, I see that was slowing down for a minute.
It's getting a little choppy, so after this thought, you might want to reconnect.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get you to leave the studio. Don't end the stream. Leave the studio and hop back in, maybe, Adam, and we'll see if that fixes things for you. I think he was mentioning the Saskatchewan
I've hit the red button over on that corner before.
All right, we're going to get Adam to reconnect. We'll take him off stage for a second while we talk about that. He was talking about Keyshawn Johnson, though, and I'll throw Dante Myers in that mix. Those are two up-and-coming starting receivers for the Riders that looked really good in the second half of the season last year. Absolutely criminal that they are priced at $3,300 and $2,500 or something like that. Like, that is so low, and that goes back to if we needed value plays, 100% those are the guys I'm going to. But there's just so much money to throw around that then they're not number one on my list.
Yeah, did they add money this year? Because I feel like I have a lot of extra budget left. Or is it just people aren't overpriced yet?
I think it's just people aren't overpriced yet. The salaries are so low across the board.
Because I thought this was the easiest I've made a lineup. I just put a bunch of players in, and then I was like putting some value plays in, and I was like, oh, wait, I got like 15,000 left. Why am I doing the value plays? But
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we've got Adam back. I think the internet's a little bit better. We just rounded out the fantasy talk here for Ottawa and Riders. If you want to carry on into our betting picks here, Adam.
Yeah, for sure. So Ottawa is a 3.5 point underdog against the Rough Riders this week. 3 points, essentially. Again, if you know how most betting works, 3 points is essentially home field advantage. So I guess they're essentially going with a pick 'em on this one here. Early in the season, I guess, makes sense. Trey, I guess you give your and I guess the over-under is 48. Trey, who do you got this week over in the game number one?
This is actually an incredibly tough line. If it was 2.5, I would smash Saskatchewan all day, but that extra half point makes it tough, and we all know how interesting the Rouge can make spreads in the CFL. This was an NFL game. I think I'd be more comfortable with the 3 than with the Rouge, because this game just strikes me it's going to come down to a field goal, or maybe even knowing Brett Lottler a missed field goal, game-winning game kind of thing. So I am going to take Saskatchewan -3. If I had to put a confidence level on it, It's not very high. I do think Saskatchewan. If I bet in money line, I take Saskatchewan, but I think this game might be that 2-point kind of thing after a field goal. Over under 48's not a lot. That's kind of staying with a 25-23 game.
Yep.
Let's hit the over, because I think both offenses can be pretty dynamite and both defenses can kind of. Well, this was the game though last year. Wasn't there one that was like 13-12 or something after overtime? Something stupid. Okay, let's hit the under. Let's hit the under just because of that. Watch it be like that. Ryan, who do you think?
Yeah, I feel like week one gets a little bit nutty every year. I famously once won a week of CFL Pick'em because I was the only one, or I was one of only a few people back in 2019 to pick the Ottawa Red Blacks to beat the Calgary Stampeders, who were dynamite at the time, and they happened to do so. So there is going to be upsets in week one, and I think looking at the line here, this is one of those to me. I would take Ottawa to cover the 3 points. I am actually taking Ottawa straight up this week because I think they're going to shock the Riders a little bit here. I think Ottawa is going to be a very good team this year. They fell off second half of the season. They looked good first half last year. I think we're going to see a ton of progression from Drew Brown. Interestingly, I don't know if you saw, but Bo Levi Mitchell was asked who are his top 3 quarterbacks in the CFL this week, and number 1 on his list was Drew Brown. Which was a little bit surprising. And I think we're going to see some good progression from him. If the defense can shore it up a little bit, I think it's going to be a close game, but I would take Ottawa on the +3 here. And on the over-under 48, I think I'm going to agree with Trey's second take there, which is take the under, and I'll have it go just under 48. Adam?
Hope's eternal in Riderville. I think I've heard enough already from the local radio stations and the local news and everything about how this is the Rough Riders season and how they're going to win the Grey Cup. And they've already planned out the route down Victoria Street and then over to Albert and then back down Saskatchewan Drive, and away they go. Saskatchewan, I think, will win this game. But that -3, you're right, Trey, that scares me. Because I think it's probably going to be either a single or a field goal win. I'm going to still take Saskatchewan. Do this one here. And then after they break my heart this weekend, I'll probably stop picking them for the rest of the season. And give me the under as well. I like the defense for Saskatchewan really quite a bit. And Ottawa's defense, I think, can be pretty solid. Their secondary usually is pretty good. Although I forgot to check in the depth chart, Henderson is in there. That'd be pretty fun to, have fun with him in the defensive secondary, seeing as he's a former Rider. Give me the under. Give me Saskatchewan in this one here. Anything else, or on to the next game?
Well, we are definitely not finishing in an hour tonight. We're 39 minutes into this podcast on to game number 2. We got another long one going tonight, folks.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry about this, but first week of the season, we'll get her down here as well as we can. It's the Toronto Argonauts heading down the road into Quebec, take on the Montreal Alouettes, who are -4 favorites. Okay. Thoughts on this game? Is there any storyline that you guys want to start off with, Trey?
I'm thinking that the Argos are probably the underdogs because of Chad Kelly. There's probably the sense he wasn't going to start. And sometimes in leagues like the CFL and UFL and stuff like that, the betting markets are kind of weird because it's hard to evaluate players. So yeah, sure, the 2 guys running backs are kind of fresher. So that might have played a little factor than that. You kind of knew what you were going to get with Kadeem Carey. So things like that. I'm not too shocked Toronto is the underdog, and even by 4 points. And 48 again, I think they just got lazy and made the over-under the same here probably. But I think it's going to be an interesting game. This is a big division game to start off with, right? Like we were kind of talking about last week that some of these teams in the East could be couple games apart, right? And this could be a big one to set it up. And you also got a Davis Alexander getting the reins to start the season. And then on the other side, you got, I'm assuming it's Arbuckle, right? I should pull up the thing. And, his career, he's lucky if he's probably 500 in his career, but he's coming in off winning the biggest game of his life, right? Last November. So I think it's a very interesting game. Good Friday night football game, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I think it's the tale of the two sides of the quarterback for this game for me. On one hand, you've got Davis Alexander trying to prove that moving on from a guy in Cody Fajardo, who, barring an injury last year, probably would have won MOP if he played the entire season, and committing to Alexander for 3 years instead as their guy. He's got to come out there and show that they made the right decision and start showing that early. So I think that matchup, and then on the other side of it, obviously Arbuckle as well. Like, I'm still not a Nick Arbuckle guy. I haven't been one. Like, throughout the last couple of years, there was nothing there, and then he comes out and wins Grey Cup MOP out of nowhere and has that fantastic performance in that game. So, this is a veteran guy trying to show of like, hey, yeah, that was more than just a fluke, that I can still actually play at a high level, which got me so much hype early on in my career. So I think that quarterback matchup is interesting. I think the running back matchup is interesting as well, given these are the two teams that just cut their starting running back. And so you got McMahon on one side, you got Sean Thomas Erlington on the other side, both trying to kind of establish, show the teams that they made the right decision to put the ball in their hands here early this season. So I think those are the biggest storylines I'm watching for this particular game.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ryan. Obviously the running back situation is all new. We've talked about that already at depth for both teams. And I really want to see how long of a leash Sean Thomas Erlington has. I don't think it's going to be a very long one. I think that they have somebody else in mind, and I think that they'll switch to it very quick. That being said, maybe Sean Thomas Erlington might get back to that. I think it was 2019 when he really had that breakout kind of little bit of a season. So I hope that's the case. That'd be great. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And of course, Deontay McMahon on the other side. I want to see how he looks when he's taking over the reins now for Kadeem Carey, who, by the way, won the rushing title, I think, what was it, only 3 years ago? So that's kind of cool as well. The other big storyline for me, and then we'll get into fantasy players to watch, there is no more of the horn in Montreal. So celebrate for all those that absolutely hated that horn and that honking noise that you heard every single day. Quick thoughts on the horns. Right?
I'm gonna miss how much it pissed everybody off. Like, that's the one thing for me. Like, and it pissed me off too while I was watching it. You gotta turn the game down and just not listen to the commentary when those horns were going. But it was funny to me that that's what happened. Like, this is a unique thing about the Montreal game in Montreal. That is no longer there. And is it going to make a big difference on the field? I've seen people talking about like, oh, how's Montreal going to do at home now that they don't have their one guy with a horn? I can guarantee you they have enough people in that stadium that can make enough noise that's not going to make a crucial difference. The only ones that made difference for was those of us watching on TV, because the horn guy was right behind the TSN cameras and they didn't do anything to filter it out. So I guess it's nice that we can hear the broadcast again, but I'm going to miss this unique little aspect of a game in Montreal. Trey?
I think it's just such an Eastern Division problem, right? We're used to the West, and like, sure, we got cowbells and those other kind of horns in Saskatchewan and Winnipeg and stuff, but who needs a compressed air horn to make the loudest stadium? You don't need it. Just get fans and give them beers and they'll be fine. That's it. So I mean, honestly, I'll be honest. The only time I watch Montreal play is when they play Winnipeg. So thank God. And maybe I'll watch more Montreal games now.
You know what? Montreal, it's been like there's three things that are recognized with Montreal: the air horns, the seagulls that are always in that stadium for some reason, and the third one is the weird winds that absolutely pick up at the wrong time for certain teams. So, yeah. Strange stadium. Would love to go one day. Wonder if they can train the seagulls how to make air horn noises. Anyways, let's move on to fantasy.
The one thing that annoys me more about the air horns is the end zones in Montreal. That's it. Because the end zones have the angled, right? That's it.
Oh yeah, that's right. they're not quite full. Yeah, I forgot about that too. Hey, if you have a pet peeve about one of the CFL stadiums, write her in the comments. We'll give you We'll give you a shout out. In the meantime, though, I'll go and I'll start with fantasy for this game here on who I'm looking at. I think right now, if I have to pick somebody, I really want to see what Austin Mack is going to come back and do after a full training camp. Now, there's no excuses, and this is one thing I'll probably go on when we go to the out west to BC that I'll be talking about a little bit. There's no reason for Austin Mack to not have a good game. He knows the playbook. He knows exactly what's going to go on. He's got a new quarterback who he's worked with plenty of times. He's Davis Alexander. I think he's been there just as long as Austin Mack. So they both know each other. So I really like Austin Mack for a pickup this week. On the Toronto side, Deontay McMahon is going to be really cheap, and I think that he makes a great running back, and I think he's going to get a lot of yards. Montreal last year was probably one of the worst teams defending the run.
True, yeah.
So it might be a really good pickup to pick up Deontay McMahon for this one in this game as well. Trey, let's go with you first.
That's on. Yeah, you took the one player I have kind of pegged in this game, and that is Toronto's Deontay McMahon, just because he's so cheap, 4,300 right now on CFL the game zone there. Let me see who else. Oh, also got to go with Tyson Philpott on Montreal's side, right? That I think that there might be a little bit of time where you got to get an adjustment because he did seem to play a little better with Fajardo last year than Alexander, but that could be injury. It could be a lot of different things. Alexander was kind of on the play with the B squad. Now he's got a full offseason with the A squad. So I think you got to at least risk it with Tyson Philpott at 10,500, right? That's not crazy compared to what he could be later in this year if he kind of starts playing like he did last year.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about that as well. I was thinking about the two running backs on both sides that we've talked about are super cheap. McMahon's 4,600, 4,300. Sean Thomas Erlington is 2,600. Like, that's great and all, but I don't need the cap savings where I'm really going to put them in because I haven't seen what they can do in a starting role as much. Although you make a good point about Montreal's run defense, and I think McMahon could have a really good game as a result. So that is potentially tempting there. The one receiver I'm going to talk about that nobody's mentioned yet is I think he is Davis Alexander's go-to guy, and I'm still mad that Trey picked him in the fantasy draft and I ran out of receiver spots in order to do so. And that's Charleston Rambo, who for some reason is $4,300 only in Game Zone Fantasy at the start of the season, which does not do him justice. Because I have the cap savings elsewhere, I'm not necessarily going his direction because I like some of the top names to outproduce him a little bit. But I think if they are putting points on the board, that's when we saw him at his best last year, was the games where Davis Alexander started in the middle of the season. So I really like that combo to kick it up again this week. And I talked already about how absurd some of this pricing was. Why is Shedler Furvius of the Montreal Alouettes $5,500, $1,200 more than Charleston Rambo? If you don't know the name Shedler Furvius, this is not a knock on him, but he played maybe 2 games last year and was a backup receiver for most of his time. Make it make sense, games.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, I could even see Letcher Jr. being higher than that, and I think he's less, if I'm not mistaken.
Letcher Jr. is 2,800. And you know what? I hope the depth chart comes out and Shedler Furvius is on there. And I hope he scores 2 touchdowns on Friday night and makes me eat those words. It's not a knock on him as a player. It's just what formula based on recent statistics makes you assume he should be the combined price of Keyshawn Johnson and Dante Myers of the Saskatchewan Roughriders?
They already know he's going to be the next Ben Cahoon, who, by the way, is just finishing up his retirement ceremony, as far as I've heard.
I assume that was
nevertheless
here yet.
Yeah. Well, they're working on finishing it up. Anyway, let's get into the betting side of this here. Toronto again, 4.5 point or 4 point. I like saying the half point. I don't know why tonight. 4 point underdogs. Yes, it's another atomism. You can add that to the board if you really want to. 4 point underdogs going into Montreal, over under 48 points. Last time I think, Ryan, you went first. So Trey, you want to go first?
I think Trey went first last time, but you can
I went
go
first last
Okay,
time, but I'm
I
the
don't
betting.
care.
I'm the betting. No. Ryan, you stay sit. I'm the betting expert, so shut up. I'll go first. I hate. Adam, you're not wrong though. I hate when the games are the 0.0 because it leaves this push opportunity, which I think should be cheating. But also, if you read the fine print of any gambling site, they can cancel your bets at any time without notice. So I mean, it doesn't matter. So this is an interesting one. If it was Chad Kelly, full health, and he had the full training camp, I think the line would be different, obviously, but I would be eyeing more Toronto. In Montreal, I don't think the air horns are going to affect the defense that much negatively or positively in either way. I will go Montreal with the 4.0. I think this will be kind of that 5, 6, 7 point game just because I know I keep talking like, oh, Arbuckle had the Grey Cup, Arbuckle had the Grey Cup. I'm not as high on him like just Ryan said. I was definitely more high on Chad Kelly when he won the Grey Cup a few years ago, playing half a game versus I am Arbuckle. So give me Montreal at the -4.5. This one I'll take the over. I do think both offenses will be a little bit more explosive in this one. Ryan.
I'm going to take Montreal as well. This is not one of those bizarre world upsets I think of in week one. I like Davis Alexander more than I like Nick Arbuckle at quarterback. I like the receiving core. I really like Montreal's defense that I think could cause some problems for the Argos here. So I'm going to take Montreal at the -4, the over under 48. I'm going to go under on this one a little bit as well. I think, there might be some jitters from Alexander. There might be some from Arbuckle. First couple weeks of the season, are a little rough sometimes. So I'm going to go under on this game as well. Adam?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Montreal on this one as well. I think that. Oh, am I freezing up again?
Nope,
we'll try it here. I'm going to go with Montreal. All good? Okay. Montreal, I'm going to go with -4. I think that they're probably the better team. They got the better defense. And I'm going to go with the under on this game here still because it's still early in the season. And you know what? 24 and 24 make 48. I don't know if neither team is going to get more than 3 touchdowns. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. So under and Montreal for me.
Real quick, we forgot the real betting expert because we're in too much of a hurry here. We did not do the coin pick for the first game on Thursday night or this one. So, Adam, do you have the coin real quick? We got to go back real quick and do Saskatchewan, Ottawa. So, what is it? Heads is home?
Heads is home, obviously, on this coin here. So the Rough Rider logo is heads. The Queen is tails. Let's see what the first one is. It's heads, so the Rough Riders will win that game, it tells us. And just when we do with the coin, by the way, we just do straight pick 'em. We don't do anything with the what do you call over under or any of that stuff. It's just what it is. Okay, and then the Toronto Montreal game. It is telling me the home team is going to win that one too. So Montreal and Saskatchewan, home field advantage, which Trey believes in thoroughly. So far, seems pulling out. Let's move on to our next game, though. That would be the Hamilton Tiger Cats heading out to Calgary and being the first team that's on the road that's actually favored here. This is Bo Levi Mitchell's first game, I believe,
right line.
for storylines.
Calgary is favored.
No, it's Hamilton is favored now. Yeah.
Oh, I was right. I said that was going to happen.
Early in the week, you should have bet on this one earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Storyline, though, let's get this one really quickly. I'll give you one. Bo Levi Mitchell, this is his first game back in Calgary playing as a Hamilton Tiger Cat or as a team other than the Calgary Stampeders for him. He was injured the last time before this. That's why this is his first game back in Calgary. So very interesting to see what kind of reception Bo Levi Mitchell gets for starters. I think he should get a pretty good one, to be honest. Hope so. But I would think you're going to see a gunslinging Bo Levi Mitchell just to remind Calgary of what they're missing. Ryan, you want to go with a storyline in this one?
Was he really injured last year? I thought he went. I thought he went back to Calgary last year. I thought it was maybe the year before Hamilton didn't play in Calgary. Or was that the issue last? Yeah, I thought it was the year before. We have our resident Ticats expert in the YouTube chat who will let us know, I'm sure, whether Bo Levi Mitchell
if
has
I'm
had
wrong,
a
he'll let
return.
me know all about it.
Yeah, we'll get him to confirm for us if he has had a return to Calgary. But yeah, that's a big storyline here as well. I mean, everybody all off season long has talked about the new weapons for Bo Levi Mitchell this year, including Kenny Lawler and all the additions the Ticats have made. And so many preseason predictions, I feel like, have had the Ticats being the beast of the East this year, going on to the Grey Cup out East. And then on the opposite, you have the West Division, where so many preseason predictions have the Calgary Stampeders finishing last place in the West. And I think they've improved quite a bit this offseason as well. I know we've been talking in the Discord and the betting channel about the line for this game, where initially it was Calgary was favored, which seemed drastic based on the current situation that we find these two teams in. And I'm not surprised it's as close as it is, because I do think I am higher on Calgary than most. I still have them fifth in the West just because I can't decide which team to move below them. But I think this is going to be an improved team. The biggest thing for me, as much as you love home field advantage, Trey, is that Calgary is at home. And last year they were a night and day difference for most of the season. They kind of fell off at the end, but for most of the season, they were night and day difference at home versus on the road. So I think this is going to be a close matchup, and I think these offenses are going to fly in this game, and I'm really excited to watch this one.
So, yeah, Saturday might actually be one of the best sporting days right now. You got the Belmont, you got UFC. This is probably the biggest game I want to watch this weekend, and I got to go to a stupid wedding. But so that's how it works. But yeah, it's my sister-in-law's, I guess. But anyway, yeah, I'm really excited for this game, and I was really excited until I realized it was on Saturday. I can't watch it. And I know you're high on Calgary, and we might have to study your brain for science after this one, because I don't know why. Because sure, VA is great. I really like VA. I remember we had DT on a few years ago, and I think you threw me under the bus and said Trey really likes VA when DT wasn't high on him, and I still have nightmares about that. But anyway, I don't know. I like VA. He's in a better situation when it comes to him being the starter than it was in BC, but he lost a lot of talent, and I'm not high on Bagleton. I think it's just he's been the only guy there. Jalen Philpott can be good. He's injured. Who the hell's the running back? I don't know. I'm not sold on Calgary's defense. I think that if Hamilton plays to their expectation, I think this could be a 10-point game, not a 1.5. And, I was actually looking on CoolBet. Sometimes you can bet bigger spreads and get bigger payouts. Right now, it's not letting me, probably because they know deep down that they don't want me doing that, because I'll end up winning a lot when they do win by 10 and I have that line. So, yeah, I think that Hamilton, again, if they play to what their expectations are, should win this game by a fair bit. Yeah, and if they don't, then I'll say just sell the farm, maybe trade everyone for draft picks at this point.
Seems like not a bad idea. The only thing I'm really looking forward in this game again, I don't think there's really much defense in Calgary right now that's going to stop Hamilton. I don't know how much defense there is in Hamilton in some places to stop Calgary and Vernon Adams Jr. Be very interesting. But the one thing I do know is I really don't like Calgary's offensive line. I'm sorry, that does not look pretty. Yeah, if somehow Hamilton's defensive line can actually pull off a little bit of a thing they're not known for, which is get pressure on quarterbacks, it could be a long night for Calgary. If not, this could be, you're right, pick six on the sidelines running down the field every 4 minutes. Wouldn't be surprising. Honestly, this could be a complete gun show. So who knows? I'm kind of really excited to see this game too, especially in Calgary. You know what? Those fans deserve to see a good old-fashioned shootout in the OK Corral. I want to see one too, especially when you got Bo Levi Mitchell doing the slinging. So, yeah, be fun. Fantasy players to watch in this game here. I guess I'll start. Or no, I did last time I started first. Trey, you go ahead and start on this one, and anybody for fantasy that you're watching.
Yeah, I got 3 players on this one, and they're all on the same team. I think Greg Bell's a good opportunity here. 7,000 or 7.7 will be the running back main focal point. I also got Bo Levi. Give him I think if FM fan did throw that he did play last year, season opener, 300 yards in a loss. But fantasy doesn't matter if you win or lose, right? Just 300 yards, pretty good game there. Call me crazy. You might have to study my brain. And for science purposes after this, I'm going to take the Tiger Cats defense because I know a lot of people are shitting on them, and I'll agree. I'm not sold on Calgary. I'm not sold. VA does what? Did he not have a game where he threw 5 picks last year, a couple of years ago? You know what I mean? I'm not super sold that the team around him might be as good as you're expecting. So he might make the throw, but no one might be there. So I think Hamilton's defense might be the play, and only for 5,000. I think they're one of the cheaper defenses too. Ryan, what does the fantasy expert got?
Can I just say everyone in this game and move on? Because I think this is going to be there's a reason the over-under line for this game is 3.5 points higher than any other game this week. And it's because there's a lot of faith in these offenses and the weapons that they have. And there's not a lot of faith in the defenses to stop them on both sides of the ball. Looking at the quarterbacks for this week was hard across the board because I think QB talent in the CFL right now is at a premium more than it has been in recent years, where there's a lot of good options in week 1 with no film necessarily to choose from. But I think I like either of the QBs in this game the most. And right now I've got Bo. Maybe I'll switch to VA before Saturday night's game. It's quite possible I'll change my decision multiple times, maybe based on where my current fantasy head-to-head matchups are at. That will probably change a little bit, but probably one of these 2 quarterbacks I'm going with. Greg Bell. I love Greg Bell. He was my keeper from last year in fantasy. I think he's going to be a top running back in the CFL. He gets it done on the red ground and in the air. He's only 7,700, so that's pretty cheap for a starting running back who should be a stud there. Kenny Lawler is only 8,600 in Game Zone Fantasy, which if you're taking a Ticats receiver, when you can get him for $4,000 less than Tim White, that something seems off about that to me, and I'm sure that price will eventually raise. So I do have Kenny Lawler on that side. On the Calgary side at receiver, I'd be tempted by any of those options. Bagleton at 11.6, Rhymes at 8.8. Jalen Philpott maybe a little less so just to see what his usage looks like, but he's at 6,400 if you do need a middling price. I think anybody at receiver is going to be a high profile pick in this game, to be honest. And I am definitely not going to either defense.
I can't agree with you more, Ryan. I think I would pick almost anybody on these 2 teams except for one player, and that's just because of a little bit of an injury concern. Drew Wolodarski. Don't go that way. And there's so many other players you could pick. To be honest, I don't know why you would pick him. But hey, it sounds like he may be hurt or he might be banged up. He may not be playing. Just to keep that in your fantasy minds as well. Other than that, Bo Levi Mitchell, Vernon Adams Jr., any of them is good. I think you probably maybe want to go with VA a little bit more for the run. Honestly, the running backs, probably, again, Greg Bell maybe over Dedrick Mills in this case. And the receivers, pick whoever you want. Just warned you about Wolodarski. Other than that, pretty much there's no real bad choice on any of these sides.
If you were planning to pick Drew Wolodarski in week 1 of 2025 CFL Fantasy, boy, is this the podcast for you. I hope you stick around for this season because you're going to learn a few things here and there along the way, because there is no right reason why the 5th best receiver on the Hamilton Tiger Cats should be in your lineup in week 1, given the pricing structure.
I'll make an argument. I'll make the argument he was the 5th best receiver in the Winnipeg Blue Bomber lineup last year, and he made big plays, and he had some good weeks. I think I wouldn't put him every week, and I don't think week 1, but I think if you pick your spots, and I bet his first game against Winnipeg, I would definitely put him in there. But in general, the Canadian depth in Hamilton's kind of wild too at receiver, right? Does O'Leary Orange still there?
Yeah.
So Keandre
I don't know.
Smith. Yeah, Keandre Smith as well. So I mean, they don't need to rest him. I bet down the stretch he'd be a guy I eye up. Maybe not week 1.
Watch him go and get 4 touchdowns or some BS like that. That's going to end up just burning us all for saying that.
Nevertheless, I hope we have a segment like coming up now next week's podcast of here's all the people players Ryan has shaded, and here's how they all performed, right? like I hope they show it to me. And I love Drew Wolotarski. I loved him at his time in Winnipeg. It's the fact of the matter of it's week 1 of the season. You don't need to go for the clever depth plays. Nobody knows how any of this stuff is going to play out. So you're probably better off, honestly, picking similar to a lot of other people and just trying to get in that upper echelon in week 1. It depends how you play, right? Everybody plays different. Everybody plays different in the sense that, some people try to get the top score every week. I've always played where I just want to be like consistently strong across the season so that I end up at the top of the overall leaderboard near the end of the year or high up on it. And everybody has their difference, and that's going to play into, do you go for the boom or bust different picks from everybody else, or do you go with the safe plays? And kind of everybody makes that decision for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So, betting, let's go with, I guess I'll go first because you know what? No, Trey, you don't get to go first every time. Hamilton, 1.5 point favorites going into Calgary, over under at 52. I'm going to go with the Ticats on this one here. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Ticats. And to be honest, I'm going to go with the over because I really feel like this game is going to become just an absolute gong show. And I love those kind of games. So, you know what? Hamilton, go with the over. That's my pick. Ryan, you go next.
I'm taking Calgary. I don't care what y'all say. I'm taking the Stampeders on this game because it's one of those week 1 ones that's going to surprise us. Like, my question I keep asking myself is, are we all, myself included, overhyping the Hamilton Tiger Cats? This is a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. Yes, they made some additions. They lost some pieces along the way as well. How much extra does, we all talk about the Kenny Lawler addition, how much extra does that already bring to an offense that threw for, that had almost 4 1,000-yard receivers? Stephen Dunbar was one as well. So I don't know if the pieces that Hamilton brought in are that massive of an upgrade over what they had. I think they are good, but I could see there being a week 1 letdown, even though I think it's going to be an overall strong season for the Ticats. And I think the Calgary Stampeders are going to shock some people. And I'm taking the over if that wasn't clear.
Trey, what do you got?
Yeah, for the exact same reasons. I'm going to, but opposite. What did Calgary do that they didn't make the playoffs last year? What did they do that made them so much better, Ryan, other than VA? And I don't think that the team around them is going to be much better. I think Hamilton at least made some moves. Give me the -1.5, and I'll smash the over as well. And I hate this because if Calgary wins, Ryan looks like the world's biggest genius. But if they lose, he goes, well, whatever, I risked it, and he lives his life fine.
Either way, my life will be fine.
I hate it.
Trey, what's the over-under?
Oh, I said over.
No, you said over too.
Okay. Yeah, over.
Okay, and well, of course, we got the most correct person on the podcast now. We got a flipper.
Right.
Yeah, let's go with the home team. It wants the Calgary Stampeders.
I always love that coin.
I don't know. The coin there seems to be joining Team Ryan. I don't know. There's a lot of Ryans I think that are cheering
Lord
pretty
help
hard for
us
the
all.
Stampeders this week. Yeah, hey, can't be right every time, but you know what? Why not? Nevertheless, let's move on to our final game of the week on Sunday. We have got a Snoop Dogg concert and also a football game mixed in between with the Edmonton Elks traveling out to BC Place Stadium and listening to the Snoop Dogg game or concert. And, they might also play some football while they're there. Although the betting gods don't look like Edmonton's going to play much. Yeah, I guess the biggest headline in this one here, of course, is the season opener concert. As said about 3 times now, Snoop Dogg is the opening act. How How high is he going to be, Trey, to start this game?
Snoop Dogg?
Yeah.
Absolutely blitz. Like I think he was stoned out of his mind at the Super Bowl in LA, and it's still illegal in the States. When it's legal up here, he doesn't he own I thought he owned a company, weed company, to part with Seth Rogen or something stupid. So he's gonna be out of his mind, which I'd love. And honestly, I don't want to watch it if he's not. So
Yeah, sure.
he's got to get the Trailer Park Boys up there too, right? So
I'm interested to see if the air quality index changes at all after the pregame concert.
Yeah, they're all wondering why the smoke from the forest fires isn't going west. They're not sure how it made it over the mountains, but there is that. Let's get to talking about the game, though. Here, I think the biggest headline that I've got is: has Nathan Rourke, after having a full training camp, is he back to Nathan Rourke? Or is he going to be that kind of guy that looked like a little bit indecisive last year, maybe making those odd interceptions? Which Nathan Rourke is coming out here, Ryan? Is it going to be, as you're the president of the Nathan Rourke fan club, which Nathan Rourke's coming out today on Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening here?
I didn't take the time before the show to scroll through my Twitter history. I have 2 bits, and that's kind of all I tweet about is put Nathan Rourke in the Hall of Fame, and the other is keeping the running tally of just how badly the BC Lions have outscored the Edmonton Elks in their matchups over the last 4 years, because it's an astronomical rate. And I think I fell off on keeping that up to date, but BC has always had their number. Rourke in his rookie season had the Elks number. Like, he lit it up more than Snoop Dogg will before this game starts. I think he is going to come out strong this year. Like, I really think last year was just a turmoil year with all the NFL movement, coming in halfway through the season, coming into an already established locker room who had their quarterback, like, all the guys, nobody wanted to say it at the time, but everybody kind of hinted to it after the season that that was a mess last year. So he's had a full training camp. He's got his full group of guys. There are some concerns over the weapons he has available at wide receiver for sure. But I do think Justin McInnis, what can he top last year with is interesting to me. Keon Hatcher, can he get back to form? And kind of how is James Butler reintegrated into that offense? I think he has the pieces to be successful, and there's a real good chance that we're not high on the Lions' depth right now at the start of the year. And then we're talking about a couple of guys like a Stanley Berryhill or an Aiden Eberhard being, top 15 receiver in the CFL at season's end because Nathan Rourke did that. Trey?
Yeah, I mean, I think both teams are very interesting. They both have some really good players, but maybe lack depth, right, in some certain positions too. Like, I think on the Edmonton side, Trey Ford could be. Did I see something this like the first time in a very long time, if not ever, 2 Canadian quarterbacks meet in week 1 or something too? So that could be great right there. I get there's some guys in the receiving core in Edmonton that need to step up. Gittins Jr., Dunbar Jr., a couple things like that. So I think this will be a very interesting game, and I think that. I want Nathan Rourke to prove it to me, because I'm a little bit more on the side of I wonder if the NFL might have completely ruined him more than just a one-off. So I'm kind of interested on that. Not completely, but it's a young guy. It's something I talked about a while ago, and I mentioned this with somebody. That the sports psychology is pretty big. When there was a UFC fighter who arguably beat John Jones in a decision, but the judges didn't give it to him, it ruined him for 3 or 4 years. In your head, you thought you won the championship, and then to be told by some idiot judges you didn't. Well, Nathan Rourke should be in the NFL. So he's being told by these idiot GMs in the NFL that he's not good enough to be down there, but he should be. I think he's just as good as his little brother, like that. So that could mess with you. And, great, he came into this back to BC. I hope that they're not over the salary cap again, especially if they don't win the Grey Cup, right? Because you can't keep losing those draft picks. So I think this is a big year for BC on the field, because sure, you get Snoop Dogg and that's great. But I mean, from my perspective, I'd rather a winning season and playoff wins over Snoop Dogg halftiming. That's me coming from the football perspective over the the show's perspective, as long as the Bombers have, the super dogs or whatever, I'm good. So
love that.
Yeah, you know what? Only thing I'll bring up extra is it'll be very interesting to see how all of these pieces that Ed Hervey brought in for the Edmonton Elks mesh together. He took a lot of pieces. Resna came back. He added in Tyrell Ford from Winnipeg. He added in all sorts of pieces all over the place. And we're going to see how it does. I've seen Ed Hervey's teams sometimes have these major adjustments and fall flat on their face. So be very interesting to see what happens here. I think I just seen today they just re-signed their linebacker Anderson, I believe it is, to a multi-year deal. So that's huge. I think it's Niles Anderson. No, that's Niles Morgan.
Nick Anderson?
Nick Anderson, that's right. He was re-signed to a multi-year deal. So yeah, big for the Elks. I really hope that they have the offensive pieces that we're going to see how long Trey Ford lasts in there, especially when he has a very good veteran quarterback named Cody Fajardo right behind him. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Any other thoughts on the BC Edmonton game? Anybody else got any quick little things they want to bring up?
If there's any team in the CFL that needs a win in week 1, it's the Edmonton Elks. Like, we cannot do this again this year where we have a highly hyped up off season for the team. We're all excited coming into the year. They brought in massive pieces on the D-line, defensive backfield. Trey Ford, the most exciting piece this franchise has had in years, and drew the fans in on 2 not good seasons in a row. Like, he finally gets the chance to start. He needs a win to show, start showing like, yeah, this was the right choice. The team needs a win, new ownership group, new coach group, and everything so badly in this game. I feel like to just calm the storm and ease everybody's minds, because we can't go 0-8 to start the year yet again, like they have the last couple of years. That just cannot happen for this Edmonton Elks franchise. If that happens, they're cursed for all eternity.
Anything else, Trey, that you want to go through on this game?
no, I'm pretty good.
Okay. Well, hey, why don't we get into our fantasy picks? We'll talk a little bit more about some players then. I'm going to let Ryan, you can go first on this one here. And who's your fantasy picks in this game?
Of course, the one game I get to go first is one game I wasn't prepped for. Nathan Rourke is obviously in consideration at quarterback at 12,500. If I'm not picking one of the BC or the Calgary Hamilton, my goodness, receivers, quarterbacks. I'm on a roll here. I'm picking Nathan Rourke. Like, we've seen what he's done to the Edmonton Elks previously, and he's a mobile quarterback, and he could light it up. But I think Edmonton's improved a lot on defense, so he's not actually my number one pick right now. Same thing with Trey Ford, always a good fantasy quarterback, but not my top option when there's so many good options and we don't know what defensive matchups are the best ones out there. A couple of players I like both running backs in this game. I like Justin Rankin against this BC defense, hoping that he gets a bulk of the carries for the Elks as well. I think Leak could play into there, but Rankin's a good price at 7,500 in Game Zone Fantasy. And I really like James Butler at 12,300. And he's currently marked down as my captain, to be honest, James Butler is, because I think he's getting the ball near the goal line. I think he is going to be used heavily in the receiving game. And if you're new to CFL fantasy, you get 1 point per reception. Receiving running backs are the most valuable running backs. And I think that's exactly the kind that James Butler is. So those are the two main guys I have so far. I'm not sure I'm going to any of the BC receivers. Obviously, I'd go McInnes would be the one I'd go on the BC side. On the Edmonton side, if I were to go with any of the receivers, I'm probably not going to any of the Edmonton receivers yet, just because I want to see how Trey Ford develops as a passer kind of early this season and see who he starts favoring. Let's go to Trey next.
You know what? Actually, I'll be honest. Sure, Nathan Rourke would maybe be the one. Maybe Trey Ford if I'm thinking about some rushing yards mixed in there, but the interceptions are always a worry. Other than that, this is a game I kind of might stay away from, just because there's a lot of question marks in that. Who's going to get the ball more? Kind of in the receiving cores. I'm not really sold on Butler. And then the running backs in Edmonton, you could go Racken or Leak, right? It could be either or. So, that's kind of one of those games I kind of go, ugh, I don't know.
I think I'm
going to stay away.
Yeah, no worries. I was kind of looking at one thing there. I don't mind Nathan Rourke for a pickup, especially because there's such cheap receivers right now, and there's such cheap running backs that you can pick up, and you can spend $12,500 on Nathan Rourke or $12,000, wherever you said there, on Nathan Rourke, and not have a problem with that whatsoever. I do like James Butler as well, because I think if Rourke does get into trouble early, he's going to probably go and probably hand off quite a bit. And Richard over in the chat does bring up a good point. Who does the BC Lions quarterback stakes, especially probably at the goal line, I think is what he means. Rourke could be getting a lot of points if he's doing it as well. I don't know who their third string or second string. I don't think that Chase or Bryce there does the.
He typically, I feel like, hasn't done the sneaks before, and you better sure as not be having Jeremiah Mazzoli do your QB sneaks. I don't think at this point I would take the chance on that. Last year, who was it? Oh, it was the fullback whose name isn't coming to mind right now for me, who just retired, that did them for BC last year. I'm sure our resident BC fan in the chat's going to help me out with the name there, and it's going to be super obvious, but. Yeah, I wonder who does that. Is it Pickett? David Mackey was the guy last year. Is it Pickett that does it? I think he's their fullback now. Is it James Butler himself doing those QB sneaks potentially? I wonder. That's one of those things that's going to be hard to predict. Or it could be Nathan Rourke, just like Chad Kelly kind of does them in Toronto. And if you have the starting quarterback doing the QB sneaks, like, he should be in your lineup every single week, because that's massive. For if he's doing the punching it on the goal line for 6 fantasy points.
No doubt. I think you're right there, Ryan. Okay. Well, yeah, I think that's our fantasy side of the things for this. Betting wise, Edmonton's going in as the 5.5 point underdogs to this game. Yeah, they usually play in BC. It might be even should be more. Trey, you go ahead and tell us your picks first.
You know what? Call me crazy. I'm going to take the Elks plus 5.5. I think BC will win this game. I don't see it being a touchdown game. I think both games, I got question marks on both sides. And I think this will be a good West game. I think these two teams will be battling for third or second in the division. I think they'll be right in the mix. So I think this is a big first game. So I think Edmonton will probably lose, but I'll take the plus 5.5, over under 48.5. You know what? I'll take the over again, because both offenses could have some potential. Ryan?
I'm going to agree and take the plus 5.5 on Edmonton. As absurd as that statistic I was talking about, where I didn't have the exact numbers before, is. I do think this is a well-improved Elks team. I don't know if they'll win. I hope for their sake they do, but this is the biggest line of opening week. You don't really know what we're going to get from either of them. Also have many of the same concerns. So I'll take Edmonton plus 5.5, but I'm going to take the over on this one, because I think both offenses can put up some points here.
I'm going to probably go with the BC Lions. I know I shouldn't be, because that's quite a spread, but Edmonton's usually terrible, and they have been for the last how many years? Until they prove me wrong, they've been terrible in BC Place Stadium. Give me the BC Lions. Give me the under. I think the BC is probably going to get like 40 points. Maybe Edmonton gets 3. I don't see Edmonton doing very well this week in this game. I think BC is going to give them all the smoke, and so will Snoop Dogg. Yeah, that goes and does the games in here.
The over-under?
And the over-under, I guess. And I got to go and flip a coin, too. I'm going to go with the under on this game here, under 48.5. And I'm going to go with the BC Lions, as I said before. Let's see what the coin tells us, though. Coin goes with the queen head. So that means it's the away team that's going to go on this one. So the Queen is thinking that Edmonton's going to do something. So you're telling me there's a chance because of the coin. You never know. Coin might be right. Maybe it's finally Edmonton's time to start off on a 1-0 start to a season. That will almost about do it for our fantasy and our game previews here. Just quickly want to run through some of the fantasy leagues that we're all involved in, whether it be the Discord League, whether it be the Podcast League, and of course, Canadian Football Fans Fight Cancer. Trey, do you want to run through the Discord League matchups or what's going on over there?
Oh, you know what? Didn't know we were doing this. So you come back to me and I'll pull up the schedule.
Well, how about I go first and I'll go and do the Podcast League portion of this. We've got our week 1 matchup. We've got 17 teams in total in the Podcast Fantasy League this year. All members either of the Canadian Football Podcast Network or just regular podcasters of the CFL this year. So week 1, we are going to start with myself. I'm going to be taking on the Elks Herd this week. Ryan, you're going to be taking on Greg on Sports, who's part of the Piffles podcast. And Trey, you are taking on, if I could see it correctly here, Trey Colbeck is taking on Andrew over at the Turf District. Any thoughts going into these matchups, guys?
I mean, I welcome the opportunity to hand a Rider fan a week 1 loss. That sounds pretty fun. And I made it to the finals 2 years in a row. Didn't win it last year, unfortunately. Won the year before. But, week 1 starts my my road to a 3rd straight trip to the championship.
Trey, any thoughts on the Elk Turf District and Andrew?
Nah, hopefully they pick a lot of Elks and we'll just get a big win. That's all.
Fair enough.
I don't know about smack talk.
I've got the Elks Herd I'm taking on.
Oh, sorry. You go.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, the Elks Herd, I guess, they let's say, I'm hoping the same thing too, that they maybe pull like one of our podcasters that are in the league, pull a Ryan Ballantyne and pick every single Edmonton Elk. Probably not going to happen. But, hey, it was worth a thought. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one this year. I guess I've taken over as a commissioner for one of these leagues for some reason or another. Ryan trusted me with this, and hopefully I don't mess it up too badly. So what it essentially is all podcasters, we pitch in a few dollars. We go and do for the ultimate bragging rights at the end of the year. There's a little bit of a playoff, and the winner ends up getting the bragging rights, maybe a belt if Steve from over at the Piffles pod makes sure that he doesn't lose it again. And also donation to the winner's choice of charity as well. So good for good cause. Kudos to all the podcast members in it. I won't go through the whole list. Go over to our X page, and everybody's listed over there. And good luck to everybody. Mainly me, but I guess these two might be okay. Can't wait for some war between the rest of us. What was that?
You're the one who needs the luck the most, so you can have it.
Yeah, I won the league that matters, though, right, Ryan?
I don't know. This one's for charity. I'd argue this one matters the most, but
fair. How many times you won it?
This one?
This one, I think once, right?
Once, yeah. I did win this one once, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, Trey, you want to run through the Discord league real quick?
Yeah, so I got it up now. If you're a member of our Discord league, we allowed some people to join. We had 16, pretty more than I expected, join. So, we'll have 8 matchups every week for the most part. This week, I take on Richard, who was talking trash in the chat already. So that'll be good. Ryan, you take on Josh M. Adam, you got a big one here, week 1. You take on Mike. Mike, that's a big one there for some bragging rights on the podcast. So, looking forward to that. 16 of us, top 7, make the playoffs. It's kind of like the NFL. Number 1 gets a bye. and a couple weeks of playoffs there, and then hopefully we get a champion after this. Looking forward. I don't know why Ryan. I know Ryan's taking some time away this summer, but you're still an idiot for giving me and Adam any responsibility. So
far, so good.
Ryan, do you want to talk about your baby there a little bit about our own fantasy league? If there's anything fancy happening there, or anything going on?
Yeah, we did our draft Monday night. It was a 2-hour and 20-minute episode. I believe that besides episode 100, that is the longest episode of the Canadian Football Countdown outside of our 8-hour free agency shows. So go check that out. It was a long night. We had a long draft that we went through, and it was a lot of good talk about some of the fantasy options out there. Obviously, we're playing season-long fantasy. Really wish the CFL had an official option for that. They don't yet, so I built it for ourselves. I'm building a fancy new waiver system for us this year, which I've been putting a lot of work into, and we'll hopefully have ready for next week for that as well. Unfortunately, if anybody's wondering, no, that's not available to the public. It's all just managed through our internal Google Sheets and stuff like that. But I encourage anybody, if you ever want to do a CFL draft league, come talk to me, because I think we figured out a format that works a little bit here, despite the nuances of this league.
And the fact that we all want to murder each other at the end of the season, well,
or before it even begins.
At the end.
Well, that's true. Yeah, why do we need to wait till the end? Right?
I'm mad at all three of you. I don't care.
That's just my natural state.
Yeah, fair enough. Anything else we got to go through, or should we get to wrapping this thing up?
Real quick, if you're in the Discord, also make sure I just threw a Pick'em League in there today. So if you want to join our Pick'em contest, it's nothing, no prize, just for bragging rights. Thought to throw it up, make a league and throw it up there today. So again, that's through the CFL Game Zone Pick'em.
I will pin that in the CFL General channel for anybody trying to find it, because there's been a lot going on in there today.
Yeah, that's good.
Perfect. Well, we went 32 minutes so far, longer than what we were planning on going. Hopefully next week we'll get this down just a little bit more and try to get this a little bit more condensed for you. But in the meantime, we'll try. It's always an hour and 32 minutes no matter what we try. Anyways, we'll be back again next week with our week 2 preview, as well as I should mention, we do have a special guest coming next week. So if you're looking to get some information on some of these new NCAA players that have come into the CFL, we're going to be talking to Brandon Saunders, who is a wealth of knowledge about university players and guys coming into the league. He was the one that told us all about Dalton Schoen before we knew who in the world Dalton Schoen even was. So I'm really excited to talk to Brandon next week.
As a little teaser for that one, actually, let me go and find, while you go through the next stuff, let me find the players he told us about on last year's show, because this is now, I believe, Campus to Canada 4.0 we'll be doing. And he had some big hits last year again, so I'm going to go dig those up while you continue onwards.
Well, while you dig those up, Ryan, I'm just going to run through a little bit of the outro stuff while we're kind of going through there, so that we're not dragging out too much time. By the way, for our 710 fans, I think that we're watching live here tonight, thank you very, very, very much. We, of course, know that there's other sports that are going on currently that, hey, some of you probably might care about. I think it's pretty much a certain hockey game that was going on tonight that most of Canada seemed to be very involved and was really excited about. I won't even say who won because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. All I can say is it went to overtime, but that's all I'll say. Nevertheless, if you can, make sure you follow us over at the Twitter, or X, I guess nowadays, at CFC Countdown Pod, or on Facebook at facebook.com/CFC Countdown Pod. You're going to find our stats for how our fantasy leagues are going, how everything is going on. If we got some special thoughts in the CFL, I'm going to try to make a weekly poll again, like I did last year for about 10 weeks. Then I forget to do it, but I'm going to try to make it for a whole year this year. so that you have some polling and some cool things to interact with. And we just want to hear from you as well over on our X page.
I found the list, if you want, now from last year of why you should check out next week's episode beyond all of the good things we normally have. As year after year, Brandon shows up. He's got his PowerPoint slides. He does his research, and he delivers. He gives us a player from each team to watch that could be making a name for themselves in the CFL. And last year, we got the likes of Javon Leake, Shamar Bridges, Charleston Rambo, Khalil Pimpleton, Ajo, who is off to the NFL, Ontario Wilson, who is off to the NFL. There's some pretty big names who made huge impacts at wide receiver for their respective teams last year. So, shout out to Brandon, and excited to have our annual chat with him again next week. Check out the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, he's been definitely lighting it up, and I mean, those are those picks that you are almost invaluable once the actual dollars start flying in CFL fantasy that you really need to be paying attention to. Done a brilliant job of it, and you're right. I can't wait for next week. Just a quick reminder again, we've talked about it about 4 times now, but it's a Discord channel. Make sure you head over there and join our Discord channel, and check the link in the description for it. For Discord, closing thoughts, and also where people can find both of you if they're looking on social media. Trey, where can people find you?
You can find me at the X at Trey MB Harness. That's not really got too much extra stuff going on. Just always horse racing stuff and football now. Some UFC. What else is there? Nothing else. Just check me out there. And really, really excited to beat you guys. In fact, I have a good feeling about our fantasy league this year. I have a real good feeling. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for all of that as well. You can find me on X at CooperTrooper42. On Blue Sky as well. I don't really post much on social media, but you can find me in both of those places. You can find me probably more active in the Discord this year. Like we said, kind of off the top of the show, I'll probably be gone for a while this summer. I may disappear from the podcast at any moment's notice for a long period of time. So if you don't see me here on the show or hear me here on the show, giving my thoughts on things like fantasy, which is obviously near and dear to my heart. I typically, I try to throw some stuff out in the Discord channel every once in a while, especially the CFL fantasy channel there. So if you want to hear from me throughout the summer more regularly, the link's in the episode description. Join us over there in the Discord. Maybe I'll try to be a little bit more active on social media side of things as well. And then when I have the chance to do so, and as long as I have the chance to do so, of course, I'll hop in here and chat weekly with you guys here on the podcast.
Absolutely. And you never know. We might even get Mike one day here as well. It sounds like he may have a little bit of extra time. If you're looking for him, you can find him at Mike Pearl. He definitely is sometimes active on Facebook and social medias. But yeah, look him up as well as Game Time TV. Make sure that you go and take a look at his stuff that he's got going on there as well. You sort of one if you're bored to read a bunch of stuff about farming, I guess, kind of cool. Either that or I'm going to GIF war with probably Trey or Ryan at some point. That's about the only time we ever see Ryan.
Pretty much.
On social media is a good GIF or GIF. Is it GIF or GIF? Honestly, which one is it?
We're not debating this an hour and 39 minutes into the podcast. It's
Thank
GIF.
gosh, because I wanted to get this done too. Anyways, podcast platform you're listening on. We appreciate if you do all the fun things such as like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share the show with your friends. Help us grow the show. We always appreciate stuff like that. And of course, from Ryan Coop and from Trey Quebec and from myself, we want to just thank you very much once again for watching. See you next week. Have a good one. Goodbye.